Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome in. Welcome to Spiritual Ambition. I'm Donna Bond. This is episode number 19. Today, we're going to give ourselves permission to feel our feelings. We're going to clear some emotional debris so we can experience greater joy. So if you are suppressing, withholding, or stuffing down your emotions, which there's a lot to be emotional about when we look out around our world, when we put on the news, when we are facing all of the difficult things that are unfolding around the planet. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of distress. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration. And when we leave that to its own devices, it acts as a trigger, creating consequences in our life that are not favorable. So it is absolutely in our best interests to clear all of that emotional debris so that we can free our true self, our true essence, our true light, and our true joy, which lives behind all of that yucky stuff. So if that sounds like something that would be helpful for you, of value to your life, hang in there with us. Stick around. Right now, we're going to do what we always do at the beginning of the show. We're going to call in the light. So I'd like to invite you, wherever you are, unless you're driving a car or operating heavy machinery, to just close your eyes. Let's just come into one accord, whether you're watching this live or you're catching the recording. Let's just slow down together and just take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. And just letting that go. Just the act of slowing down, coming into our heart space, giving that spaciousness to our very busy minds, the activity of our very busy minds. That is the first step that begins to create that space to allow our emotional body to begin to move and not be controlled. So just taking a couple of nice, deep, cleansing breaths. Infinite Universe, we call ourselves forward into your loving. We ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, or imbalance be lifted and transmuted at this time, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness, into this space. We recognize joy, peace, light, inspiration, enthusiasm, loving, compassion, understanding, allowing, ease, effortlessness. We acknowledge and we welcome only those divine beings of light who love each one of us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan, and who work for the light. We welcome only you into our sacred space here today. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart that will resonate most profoundly with each individual here for their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. We are so grateful for the opportunity to come together and do this work. For this and more, we say thank you. So be it. I acknowledge you for being there with me doing that, because your nervous system loves it. It's like a cool glass of water on a really hot day. And anytime we're willing to give ourselves that pause, that time out, we create a space for things to move around, for things to shift, for things to let go. Because most of the time when we're going and we're pushing and we're doing and we're striving and we're charging ahead with our lives, managing all the things, we are controlling ourselves. We're controlling our minds because we're directing it onto that to-do list that we're trying to get through. So, what a blessing that we can just let that go. We can just let that go. And as we let that go, we begin to notice that there's stuff here under the surface. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because, you know, we were brought up in these environments where it wasn't okay to really feel your feelings, right? You can hear your parents, I'll give you something to cry about, right? We all heard it. We all heard it. And then, you know, that even got carried over past the house into the workplace, right? There was no room for any sort of emotion in the workplace. As a matter of fact, I think, you know, a long, long time ago, they used to lock women up under the guise that they were hysterical and they were just expressing their emotions. And then we had that roll over into our media, and we had the messages come in even louder. I think there was a deodorant commercial and their slogan was "Never let them see you sweat." And that was sort of an undercurrent of keeping your emotions in check. And of course, we don't want to go into the boardroom and lose our shit. You know, that's not helpful for anyone. We don't want to express our anger or difficult emotions onto people that we love and care about and the most important people in our life, or innocent strangers in the line at the supermarket or next to us on the highway. So we want to learn to be responsible with the feelings that we do have. But in order to deal with those feelings, we first need to give ourselves permission to actually experience them. And we have all these belief systems that tell us otherwise. So today we're going to crack that open a little bit. But before we do, we are going to call in our sacred circle of light to anyone that needs to be placed in this beautiful container of loving. So if there's anyone in your life that you would like to receive light from this community, you can go to spiritualambitionsacredlight.com and you can submit their name and we will include it on the show. I will mention their first name live as we include them with the light that we are sending out across the globe. So today, I want to send light to my friend Eric, who is really moving himself through something incredible in his life. So Eric, Betty and Bob, again, we're going to bring you our love and our light. We're going to send light to Allah, to Natasha, to David. We're going to send light to Kelly, to Surrey, to Everest. And we're going to throw in Lauren and Brittany and anyone else, anyone who is really struggling right now, anyone who is experiencing their emotions and feels like they don't have anybody to share that with or anyone to support them. We're sending the light to anybody who is feeling fear of any kind. So we just take we take our lids down for another minute and we open our hearts, and together we send that energy of upliftment, the energy of grace, the energy of peace. Thank you. Thank you so much for your participation in that. So let's talk about our emotions. I have a process for you, actually, that I'm going to talk you through, and you are welcome to download a copy of this, because today we're going to do what's called a soul trip. And if you visit Spiritual Ambition Soul Trip, and that's trip with 2 P's, Spiritual Ambition Soul Trip, TRIPP.com, you can download this process. And this is a helpful reference guide to support yourself through working in the emotional level. So we have 4 levels of our consciousness, and we kind of don't realize this at first hand, but we have the mental level, and this is all about our thinking. We have our emotional level, which is all about our feeling. We have our physical level, which includes everything that's in our physical reality, right? It's like all the stuff. And it's also about space and time, the physical level. It's like I have to, I don't have to get in my car and drive to work, but that would be an example of something that's taking place in the physical realm. The physical realm also encompasses our behavior, and any sort of action that we may take or not take is taking place in the physical world, in the physical realm or dimension. And then we have the energetic or the invisible realm. And why on a spiritual show are we going to talk about our emotions? And what do our emotions have to do with our spiritual self or our spiritual essence? This is such an important link. Our emotions actually are energy in motion. Energy in motion. And energy is this substance, the essence, the stuff that exists in the energetic realm. And we can't see it. So oftentimes we overlook it, or we underestimate it, or we pretend that it's not even there because we can't really see it or hold on to it. I want to share a little bit about the work of Dr. David Hawkins, and you can reference all of this science I'm going to recommend 2 of his books. The first one is Power versus Force, and the second one is Letting Go. And in both of those books, Dr. Hawkins has proved through the modality of kinesiology that all of our emotions have a vibratory frequency to them. So all of our emotions, you can think about it almost like a musical note. We have high notes and we have low notes. And in his work, Dr. Hawkins has essentially measured our emotions in a way that helps us understand that when we have lower, heavy, dense emotions, which can be thought of as those low musical notes, the deep, dark, heavy notes, those can block or stand in the way of the higher notes. And your true essence, your true self, the true energy of who you are is operating at the frequency or the vibratory frequency of loving. That's your truth. It's my truth. It's the truth of every single person on this planet, even though it doesn't look that way all of the time. And our behavior can mask our true essence. Our true essence can get covered up, essentially, by these lower, heavier, dense frequencies. And when you begin to think about some of these lower, dense emotions, such as shame, grief, guilt, apathy, hate, these are all dense frequencies, and they get stuck or clogged in our energetic body. And over time, the older we get, the more we clog up our energy body with heavy, dense emotions, energy in motion, the more we block our essence. We block our light, our love. And the thing about our true essence is that that energy has natural derivatives like joy, aliveness, enthusiasm, inspiration, all these yummy things that we're all running around out in the physical world, chasing things, trying to get more joy. When the truth is, if we could dissolve or remove those heavier, dense frequencies of emotion, we are naturally allowing our true essence to shine forth. So I hope you're following all of this. You know, I have a class, an online class called Let Your Life Be Led by Your Higher Self. And you can visit, oh, Kelly, I should have given this one to you, www.letyourlifebeled.com. And it's quite inexpensive. I don't know, maybe it's $33 or something. And I take you through how all of these emotions accumulate as these heavier, dense frequencies that then block our light. Because that's not necessarily the main thrust of our show today, I'm going to just give that to you, www.letyourlifebeled.com. And that will give you a deeper understanding of this phenomenon, really, that once I became aware of this through the work of Dr. David Hawkins, my head exploded, because that was the real incentive that I needed to begin to do the inner work to clear away the emotional debris that was blocking my true self, my true essence, which is not something we have to go out and get. It's not something that we have to take a course to figure out. It is something that is right here, right now. But our awareness of it has been diverted from it because there's things in the way of it. And that was kind of fun. The big message that I want to send to you today is about giving yourself permission to feel your feelings. And here's where we can sometimes go wrong with this, and where it's not healthy and it's not productive and it's not really doing any inner work. It's not clearing or dissolving the emotion, is when we are lost in the story and we're seeing the problem through the lens of our victim self. Poor me, this happened to me, can you believe this happened to me? Or life is doing this to me. Anything like that is signifying that we are really sitting in the seat of our victim consciousness. And as you know, we have a higher self, our original wisdom, which is the essence of this beautiful presence. It has been referred to as witness consciousness. It has been referred to as the energy of love. It's referred to as your soul, your higher self. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't even really matter. The idea is to be aware that there is a higher part of your witness, the drama and the patterns that are being worked through on the mental level and the emotional level, and sometimes the physical level, in this three-dimensional reality that we live in, called physical world reality. So the idea, when we give ourselves permission to experience our feelings, is that we're bringing in the higher part of us, almost like a parent. You can really think about this as self-parenting. And, you get to be the parent that you always wished that you had. If our parents were perfect, and none of them are, right? And we just want to give our parents a deep bow in this moment and remember that they really all were doing the best that they could. They were really all doing the best that they could. Even though it might not have looked that way, even though their efforts may have been clumsy or awkward. When we can give someone grace like that, we release ourselves from holding on to that victim consciousness. So when we give ourselves permission to experience our feelings and feel our feelings, there's a way we do that from the seat of our loving essence, from the seat of our true, authentic self. And I'm going to walk us through 5 steps that I have identified that are very helpful in fully feeling our feelings. But I just wanted to articulate, when we're in the storyline and we're caught up in the drama of whatever it was that is upsetting us, that's just a negative feedback loop. And when we're caught in that negative feedback loop, there's sort of no way out of it, because consciousness is a self-fulfilling system. And what we give out is what we get back. That's a whole rabbit hole. I share that with you just for your awareness, to recognize that there is a way for you to show up and support yourself when you're in duress, or when you're feeling sad, or when you're feeling angry. There's a way that you can be with yourself where you are evolving the relationship that you have with yourself that then begins to instill self-trust, self-confidence, self-assuredness, self-loving, self-compassion, self-understanding. So the way that you can think about this is, if you had a little child that you loved unconditionally, and that child was upset, you would take that child in your arms, and no matter what that child was upset about, it would be okay with you. You would just bring that unconditional compassion, that unconditional love to that child, and let them cry it out. Let them be angry. Let them experience their frustration. You wouldn't judge them for it. You wouldn't wrong them for it. You would just be there with them, allowing whatever wanted to come forward to come forward. This is the opportunity that we all have with ourselves. This is very much the work that I do with my clients in sacred, private, heart-opened exchanges, where I can be this loving, unconditional witness, holding space for my clients as they learn how to hold space for themselves. And that's really the beauty of the soul catalyst work that I do and the spiritual psychology coaching that I do. And you can learn more about that on my website at donnabond.com. So how do we begin to shepherd ourselves? I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it, that we're going to be in this crap on the planet for a while longer. We're going to be in it for a while longer. And there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of duress. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of fury. There's a lot of rage. When we continue, this makes me sad to even talk about it. When we continue to take out our difficult emotions onto each other, all we're doing is fueling the shit. What we're doing is we're pouring gasoline into the soup, into the cosmic soup. We're taking our life force and we're attaching a quality to that life force, which is not positive or uplifting or helpful or good. And we're pouring that into the cosmic soup. The answer is not to ignore these emotions. The answer is not to pretend that the grief doesn't exist and that it's not real. The answer is not to stuff down your frustration and try to be more positive. That is not the answer. The answer is also not to take it out on the people that we love, or the people that we don't even know, or people on social media, or people on the highway. There is a clear and clean and responsible way that we can work with our emotions. And when we are willing to actually take action in doing that, we have just empowered ourselves in the most incredible way. We have just put ourselves in the seat of sovereignty, in the seat of authentic empowerment, where we are now participating as the creators that we are in shaping the world that we want to live in. Instead of contributing and fueling the shit that we don't want. I'm sorry, I'm obviously very passionate about this. And I'm glad, I've actually been a little bit afraid to talk about emotions because I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a spiritual psychologist. And I'm also aware that I'm a human being and that every single human being on this planet is dealing with this right now in their own way. And when people have more tools to help themselves free the garbage that is in the way of their loving essence, they're going to be more happy. They're going to be more joyful. They're going to be more creative. They're going to be more fulfilled. They're going to be more on purpose in their life. They're going to make a bigger and better contribution to the whole. They're going to show up for the reason that they took embodiment and came to this life. So let's do it. Let's look at it. Here's the process. The first step is acknowledgement. It's acknowledging that there is some sort of emotion that is coming to the surface. And right there, we have a choice. There's a choice point because when that emotion surfaces, we can deflect it and diffuse it and repress it and restrain it in all of the ways that we have been taught. Usually that happens by taking our attention out of the present moment. Okay, that's how it happens. We take our attention out of the present moment, and then we're able to somehow control or manage that energy, that emotion that's moving within us. So the first step is to acknowledge, like, "Ooh, wow, something's coming up in me right now. Something is happening inside of me. I wonder what it is. What if I get curious about that? What if I bring my attention to it instead of away from it?" And Michael Singer, in his book, The Untethered Soul, he talks about, he goes on and on and on, as Michael Singer does, for pages and pages and pages, about somebody who has a thorn in their side. And this person has this thorn in their side, and anytime anybody bumps into that thorn, they feel the pinch, they feel the ouch. And so this person goes to great lengths in their life to build all these contraptions around themselves so that no one bumps into that thorn. This is what we do, right? We build structures in our mind, in our life. We have distractions like television or alcohol that keep us from bumping into that thorn, from touching that tender place. And he carries on and on for pages. He then has the person with the thorn meet somebody and falls in love, and they want to sleep together, but now they have to build another contraption while they're in bed together so that the person in the bed doesn't roll over and bump into the thorn. It's really brilliant. After pages and pages of this, the moral of the story is, if we would just go in there and get the thorn and pull out the thorn, then it wouldn't be there to keep bumping into. And this is the opportunity that we all can give to ourselves when we're willing to acknowledge. And then step number 2, allow our feelings to actually occur. And the allowing is scary for some of us because I think we have a misunderstanding that if I really experience this emotion, I'm going to get sucked into a negative spiral for the rest of time and I'm never going to come out. That's just a story. It's not true. When we're willing to be with these emotions and experience them, we're really working through the energetics of them and they run their course. We go into them and then they come out. So that's the first thing. But as we allow our emotion, I lost the train. Sorry. Something happened on the wire. Isn't it so interesting? Like I get this feed that just comes in and comes down and then all right, well, it'll either come back online or it won't. We're talking about allowing our emotions. And I'm going to give you the metaphor of riding a wave, like you're a surfer. And when a surfer is riding a wave, when the swell comes up, if they brace themselves, they're going to get smacked by their surfboard. So the idea, and I've never been surfing, I'm just like using this as an example, but when they relax into that swell, the board just carries them over the swell and they just keep on going. And this is the opportunity that we have when we allow our emotion. We allow the swell to come without bracing ourselves against it in any way or without deflecting our attention away from it. This gives us the opportunity for it to surface. And I know for myself, I have a very dedicated meditation practice. And if I have emotional debris in my emotional body, when I slow down, when I bring myself into stillness, it will automatically surface. It just automatically comes up and comes out. And that's like a beautiful thing. And, you know, when this happens, typically what we do is we're mentalizing, oh, I wonder why I feel sad. I wonder why this is uncomfortable. I don't want to experience anything uncomfortable. Let me try to control this. I have two different thoughts converging here. What I want to say to you is that you can do uncomfortable. You can do uncomfortable. And when emotion comes up, when it surfaces from that quiet place, you do not have to try to make some sense out of it. You don't. You just have to experience it. And that's number 3. So you're going to allow it, and then you're going to experience it. And to experience it means you got to feel it. You got to feel it to heal it. I mean, we throw this around in the spiritual community and in the counseling community. You got to feel it to heal it. And why is that? Because this is how the energy runs its course. And remember when I talked about bringing in that witness, that beautiful presence of your higher self, that unconditionally loving mother of nurturance. She is standing there holding space in a loving way that is helping to dissolve that pain, right? And again, we're witnessing the pain and we're witnessing our ego experience that emotion from a place of neutrality, from a place of witnessing, witness consciousness. So you're going to allow and you're going to experience. And in that experiencing is the expression that's going to come through. And that expression can look a lot of different ways depending on what the emotion is that you're working with. Again, you don't have to name it. You don't have to make sense out of it. You don't have to try and attach a story to it. This is so important. This is so important because it's like you're clearing out the receptacle. You're removing the clog in the drain. Actually, here's a good metaphor for you. Weather patterns. Here it is. I'm delivering spiritual ambition. It's starting to rain. It doesn't matter what time of day I do it. The rain is always with me. I think that there's like a clearing process that's happening. A weather pattern. So your true self, that unconditionally loving mother essence, is that perfect, pristine blue sky. And what happens is a weather system will get in front of that blue sky. And that weather system needs to run its course, right? It needs to work through its stuff so that it breaks apart, it dissipates. And what are we left with? The blue sky. We're left with the essence. We're left with your true self that is the energy of love, that has the derivatives of joy and peace and aliveness and creativity and enthusiasm and all of the stuff that you want to experience in your life. But it's blocked by these heavier, dense frequency emotions. So we acknowledge, we allow, we experience, and in that experiencing, we're expressing, we're letting it go. If you're angry, let it go. It doesn't have to be let go on anyone else, but you can give yourself a good scream. You want to scream really well? Drive around in your car. I used to do this on the 405. I don't know. I shouldn't be recommending that. Go into the backyard, put your bare feet on the grass, give it up to the sky, to the earth. She can handle it. Let it out. You want to cry? You want to slam your fists? You want to scream? Do it responsibly. You're sad. You want to just give yourself permission to feel whatever is coming up. And in those moments, step number 4, I call embody. And in embody, this is an act of being with whatever is happening, being with yourself as you emote, being with yourself as you free that anger, being with yourself in your sadness. Because when you are being with yourself, you're not abandoning yourself. You're not entering into self-betrayal. Let me go off on a little tangent on this one. Anytime we are deflecting our emotions and not dealing with our emotions, we are entering into self-betrayal. And on some subliminal level, we are communicating a message to ourselves in some way that we don't matter, we're not important, that we don't care about ourselves, that it's okay to treat ourselves in an unkind way. Just consider that. And consider the other side of it is that when we are willing to be with ourselves in these difficult emotions, we are building self-trust and self-compassion and self-understanding and self-nurturance. This is a form of self-support. Why do we need to do self-support? You know, there's so many people that are angry in the world because they feel unsupported by everyone around them. They feel unsupported by systems, and they feel unsupported by partners, and they feel unsupported by institutions and by companies. But the world is our mirror. And so when we can learn to begin to support ourselves, that is then what will be reflected back to us. So imagine if every single person on the planet did this, then we're flipping things on their head, because the outer world is going to reflect back to us the material that we're holding in our consciousness. So when we're willing to show up for ourselves for those difficult feelings instead of discarding them, and we're communicating that message of deep support that I am worth supporting myself, I am going to support myself, when we communicate that message to ourselves, we then emanate that level of support out and around the world. What we give out is what we get back. Yeah, just take a deep breath. So acknowledge is number 1. Allow is number 2. Experience and express is number 3. Embody is number 4. And then number 5 is to honor. Honor these emotions. And, this walks us right into the celebration of love's alchemy, which today, what we're going to celebrate, the celebration of love's alchemy, we're going to celebrate these difficult emotions. And here's why. This is part of being human. And our ego doesn't love it because the ego, very entangled in its shadow patterns, only wants to feel good. My friend Momo, I'm going to quote Momo Freehill. She said the most brilliant thing a couple of weeks ago. She said, the shadow is always trying to feel better. But we humans, we have to get better at learning how to feel. Because when we can get better at learning how to feel, we can bring our honor and our reverence and our compassion to this human experience that we are all having, together. And I know there's so much grief out there. There's so much grief, and there's so much anger, and there's so much distress. And just like I said in the beginning, as we keep taking that out on each other, we're in a negative feedback loop that is going to perpetuate itself and continue the same trajectory over and over and over. And we look behind us, lifetimes behind us. We haven't gotten the message. When are we going to get the message? That's not going to fix it. It's not going to fix it. It's only going to begin to fix it when we can turn the attention in here, into the mind and the heart. So this reverence, this honor for our emotional body. Oh my God, we get to feel. We get to feel. And I know that this sounds insane, right? The soul is in it for the experience. And the soul wants to experience all of it because it's in that experience of all of it that we then garner wisdom. And the soul is in it for the wisdom. The ego's in it for the knowledge and the fact finding and the info, but the soul is in it for the wisdom. And there's wisdom for you to discover about yourself, about your life, about your values, about your belief systems, when you're willing to be with and honor your emotions. Because they're going to reveal to you what matters and what's important. They're going to set the stage for you to be able to make choices about the direction and the trajectory of your life. But we can't live our life in a productive, meaningful, and effective way if we're emotionally unglued. And right now, we look across America, at least, and there's a lot of people that are emotionally unglued. How can we take a deeper level of responsibility for our own emotional body, our own emotional system, and realize that the cleansing of our emotional body is as important as the cleansing of our physical body, right? We all take a shower every day, or most of us do. If we're lucky, if we have clean water. Clearing our emotional body is part of overall health and well-being. It's part of how we stay balanced, because we are no longer carrying the weight of those lower, heavier, dense frequencies that literally block our light. Again, you can visit Spiritual Ambition Soul Trip, TRIPP, 2 Ps, Spiritual Ambition Soul Trip, and you can download all of my commentary in the process that's called Fully Feel Your Feelings. And I really want to encourage you to use this as a reference guide for yourself as you begin to practice. And if you'd like some help, visit my website. There's all sorts of different opportunities for you to work with me, both online and in person. And you can learn more at donnabond.com. Ooh, the rain is really picking up. All right, let me check my notes here and see if there's anything that I want to talk about that I missed. Hello to everybody out there today. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And, just drop in the chat if you are experienced at giving yourself permission to feel your feelings. I want to just hear from a few of you. All right. Well, as I alluded to earlier, the celebration of love's alchemy. The celebration of love's alchemy is our gentle pause to recognize the extraordinary magic that is woven through our everyday lives. And every episode, we take a moment of loving celebration for something that might seem ordinary or contrary. Ooh, can you hear the thunder? Something that might seem ordinary or contrary at first glance, but it holds within it a spark of brilliance as we celebrate and remind ourselves why we chose to take a human body and come here to human land. So everything from the juiciness to a sweet orange to the blessing of an emotional trigger, we turn our attention to the less obvious causes for celebration and the little things that we might take for granted. Through loving appreciation and gratitude, we uplift ourselves and our vibration with the power of love, sending ripples of good juju out and across the planet. As alchemists of upliftment, we turn the seemingly mundane into marvels of magnificence, as we see the whole human experience as the alchemy to our wisdom. And today we are comfortable. We receive a couple of blessings. And the first blessing that we receive is to remember that we are fully human and fully divine. We are both. And the more that we embrace and honor all of it. In my book, Original Wisdom, Harness the Power of the Authentic You, there's a quote on the very big first opening chapter. It says, the longer I am on the spiritual path, the more aware I am that it's all about loving and honoring my humanness. And when we're willing to be with our difficult emotions and we're willing to shepherd ourselves through them as an unconditionally loving parent, we are for to uplift everybody around us. I promise you that. I promise you that. When we're willing to be with our emotions, it cultivates compassion for ourselves and for everybody else. It's also a form of self-healing. This is how we perform self-healing. As I already talked about, it develops this inner trust, this able and capable of showing up for myself. And as I show up for me, and the last blessing that I want to call out around this is it's a form of self-love instead of self-abandonment. When we are honest with ourselves about our emotions and we are willing to feel our feelings, and we're back. All right, if you're still with us, thank you so much for not dropping off. There's a very big rainstorm happening right now. Thank you for being here. You matter. You matter. Your voice matters. Your heart matters. Your essence matters. Your joy matters. You showing up in your life enthusiastic and inspired matters. So get out there and clear that emotional body so that your true essence can shine through. We are now closing our beautiful space. We're closing all energetic lines that are connecting any of us. We're closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are grateful and we say thank you. We are closing this space with love, in love, for love, by love, as love. I'm Donna Bond. This is Spiritual Ambition. Thank you for being here. See you next time.